how to interact with your smart contract using Ethers. Hi, welcome to the second part of the Dapp tutorial. In the first part, what we were doing was creating a smart contract, a very simple smart contract that allowed us to create floors for our tower and to have information about those created floors. Now the contract is deployed, and what we will do is building a frontend to interact with our smart contract. To do that, we will use React and useDApp, which is a library that relies on Ethers. So this tutorial works in 3 steps. The first step will be to connect your wallet to your frontend. The second step will be to create a form that will initiate a transaction to the smart contract and create floor. And the last step will be to get all the existing floors to display it on our frontend. Are you ready to start? Let's go! Wallet. Okay, so let's start by opening an empty folder where you want your project to be, and let's create a project using vite. To do so, let's do npm create vite at latest, the name of our project, which is Infinity Tower Web Tutorial, and the template we'll be choosing is a React TypeScript. Okay, so I chose React and React TypeScript. Okay, it's in a sublevel, so open. Okay, now I can run npm install, and I should be able to start my React app. Okay, so now we have it here, but I will kill it because I want to add other library. To build easily the frontend, I will be using a library called Mantine. So npm install at mantine/hooks, at mantine/core, and at mantine/form. Okay, so now we will create the basic of our app and remove the boilerplate we have here. So we don't need a state. We can remove everything here. And we can run again to have the updated version on the right. Okay, so now it's empty. Let's call it Infinity Tower. Okay. So here is our entry point of our application. The first thing we want to do is to check if we have Ethereum installed on our browser. So we can get it from window, and as it requires tap, we will say as any. Now we'll check if we have it installed or not. So if we don't have Ethereum, so if we don't have it, we will display a container from Mantine. We will put some padding to it. And inside it, we will create a component called wallet installation. It will just to display to the user that he requires a wallet and he has to install it. Okay. So now it doesn't know it, and if not, we'll just render null for the moment. So I really like atomic design, so I will create a component folder, and inside I will have my atom molecules and organisms. For wallet installation, we can use an organism, wallet installation, and let's create an index file which will export the component. And we will create that file, wallet installation.tsx. Okay, so what we will do is to create a component without props. We don't need it. We will return a title, which says MetaMask is required, and some instruction for the user to actually install it. Follow the link to install MetaMask. Why I'm using another text component here is to do a link. So variant link component a and the link to MetaMask, which is metamask.io/download.html. Okay, now we save, and here we can import it as it now exists. And on the right, we see nothing. Why? Because I have MetaMask installed. So to test it, what we can do is open the private browsing, incognito mode, and just go to it. And because we're in private browsing, our extensions are not working directly, so they ask me to do it, and I follow the link. I can install it, and once it's installed, the user will reload it, and he won't have this message again. So this is the basic first step you have to do in the app. Okay, I forget to give you some information. The Mantine we're using is mantine.dev, and you have the documentation available here with get started. And here are the components I will be using during the video. You can check the documentation if you want to go further with the styling of your application. Okay, so now we will create the front end when our wallet is installed. So to do so, I won't render it conditionally if we have MetaMask installed. I will always render a header. So header, the height I will put 60. I will add some padding. And I will add some custom styling, which is using SX with Mantine. So display flex, align items center to center vertically, and justify content space between to have an element on the left and another one on the right. Now, inside our header, we will just put a title, which is called Infinity Tower. And another component we'll create later, which is Wallet Connect. So let's create our second organism, Wallet Connect. New file index.typescript. Export Wallet Connect from Wallet Connect. And let's create this component. Export const Wallet Connect. And the same, I don't think we need props and right now. So to begin with, we will just put a button to say connect to MetaMask. Okay. We import, and now we have our header with connect to MetaMask. Okay. So how do we want our button to function is using the useDApp So how do we install it? We go to the documentation. I will put the link in the description as usual, and we do npm install useDApp core and ethers because it relies on ethers. And now quick digression. Why am I using useDApp? Because it provides ready to use hooks to interact with the blockchain and with your wallet. I highly recommend you to use ethers directly or Web3.js directly, as they are more low-level function and they are really interesting to know how it works under the hood. But for the sake of simplicity and have a short tutorial, I use the hook useDApp, and I think you should use useDApp in production. And as I said in the previous video, I really recommend you watch CryptoZombies tutorials, and they have a good one on Web3.js to understand how it works with vanilla.js. Okay, so let's copy it. And let's install the libraries. Okay, so now it's installed and we can create our wallet connect. So useDApp provide us very useful functions and variables. We will be using activate browser wallet, account, and deactivate. We get them from useEthers. If you don't use useDApp, you would have to code them to create your own hook, and useEther just make them accessible in the whole app using this hook. So let's check if we are connected to MetaMask. We do that by checking if we have an account. If this is the case, it means we are connected, so we can disconnect ourselves. Unclick. We just call deactivate. Else, it means we aren't connected. And unclick, we will call activate browser wallet. So this is very simple. Here I'm not connected. I click on connect to MetaMask. Okay, and we can see it's not working. I suspect it's because I didn't install it correctly. Here, if we look at the installation, we need to wrap it under the app provider, and we will need a config to it. So let's create a config, which is the type config we get from useDApp. Read-only chain ID is the rinkeby chain ID, and the read-only URLs for our chain ID will be the link from Infura. So let's go to our project under Infura. Let's switch to rinkeby and copy our endpoint. Here, and now use our config. Okay, so now I can click on connect to MetaMask. It's asking me to connect. I select an account. Let's take this one. Okay, connecting. And now I can see I'm connected. If I disconnect, I can connect again. It's not asking me again because I already approved it in the past. And we can see here I'm connected to the website. Okay. You might think we are done, but it's not. But we are close to. You might think we are done yet, but it's not the case. We just have a last step is to check we are on the correct blockchain, because here I'm on rinkeby test network, but I can switch to Ethereum mainnet. And if I try transaction, it will try to do them on the Ethereum, and it's not what we want. So here are the two last things we need to do. We need the chain ID and another function which is called switch network. So when we are connected, so if we have an account, we will check if our chain ID equals rinkeby.chain ID. If it's the case, it's good, we can disconnect. Else, we will ask the user to switch network. So here, switch network. But because we are professionals, we will explain the user what is happening and what we are asking him to do. So we'll create a group which comes from Mantine. We will align the content on the right. We'll put a text in red. Mantine. And we'll display it's the wrong network. And here we can't call switch network directly because we need to tell it to which chain we want to switch. So it's rinkeby.chain ID. Okay, so now we save and we have an error because I forgot here and put it here. Okay, so now it's telling me I'm on the wrong network, and what can I do is click on switch network. And it's asking me to switch from mainnet to rinkeby. And we can click on switch network, and now we are good. We are connected on the correct chain. Now let's switch to our floor creation, interacting with the smart contract. Okay, so now the foundation is here. Instead of returning null in our app, what we will do is create our tower. Well, it won't be a tower in this tutorial, but we will display the floors. Let's create an organism named Infinity Tower. So Infinity Tower, inside index, and we export our Infinity Tower. Infinity Tower. Okay, and let's create our component. Export const Infinity Tower equal and return tower. Okay, now we can import it. And we have our tower here. But because we can't render the tower if there are no floors, the first thing we are going to create inside it is to create a model to create floors. So let's create another organism. You might say I'm using atomic design, but I'm only creating organisms. It's true because Mantine provide me all the atom and molecules I currently need. It won't be the case always, but until now it is. So floor creation model, index, export floor creation model, floor creation model. Okay, I love this step, floor creation model.tsx. We might need props, so I will create a type floor creation model props, which equals to, I will need to check if it's opened. So it will be a boolean and on close to notify the parent that we want to close our model, and void. And now we will create our component. So floor creation model, it will destructure the props from floor creation model props. And here it is. It will be a model from Mantine. It will be open if the prop is opened, and on close we will tell the parent it wants to close. We will add a title, create a new floor. Okay, so now we have the base of our organism. Let's go to Infinity Tower to be able to turn on and off this form. We will need a state to know if we want to create or not. So floor creation opened and set floor creation opened equals to useState false. And now we will do two things. We will need a button to open it, mint a new floor. Unclick, what it will do is to set floor creation opened. We will use a variant light. We will round it. And we will add some custom style to have the position we want. So position fixed, bottom 42 always, and right 42. Okay. What do we have here is mint a new floor. If I click, it's not opening the model because we didn't put the component here. So floor creation model opened is floor creation opened, and on close it will close the model. So set floor creation open false. Okay, and now it's opening the model. It seems I have some styling issue because in the main I didn't wrap the app in the Mantine provider. Okay, so here, Mantine provider, and we have some options on it. It's with global styles and with normalized CSS, and it also seems I have some basic style here and I don't need it. So here I don't need anything. Let's reload, mint a new floor. Okay, now it's good. Just a last thing, if we disconnect, we still open our model, which is false, and we should disable this behavior. So let's go to Infinity Tower component, and we will disable our button under some circumstances, which are if we have not an account and network. and the chain ID. It's disabled if we don't have an account or that our chain ID is not rinkeby.chainid. Now we can see we can't click unless we connect and we are allowed. Here, it's not optimal to always call use ethers and to check all the conditions at once, because if I want to switch rinkeby chain, it will be long if I have to go to the whole project. So don't hesitate to create your own hook to do those kind of logic. Okay, so now let's create our form, because it's definitely not this. We'll be using Mantine, so it provides use form, and we have to provide it the types. So initial values. We have an owner name, which will be empty, a message, a link, a color, and a Windows tint. I'm adding default color just to have something, but it's not required. Okay. And we will also have a function which is called when we submit the form. Let's call it handle submit. It will be synchronized. It will get some values of form.values. Console log values. Now let's build our form. So we have a form. On submit, we will call our form.submit.onSubmit with our function. And let's add the content of our form. Again, Mantine provides us useful components. So we'll have a text input, which will be required. The label will be owner name. Placeholder will be Satoshi Nakamoto. And we will get all the other props which come from form. So from.get input props. Owner name. And that's it. We will add our other inputs. So message, default placeholder, hello world. Don't forget to use the props of it. And here a link. And use the link props too. Let's see how it looks until now. Okay, nice. We might need to add some space between the fields, so let's add a space. Height, we'll add a medium height. And we'll do it for both, but we still need our two color pickers. So we have a color input. Label will be the color of our floor. It is required as well. By the way, here and here it's not required. And we don't forget to add the props. And we'll also need our Windows tint. Okay, so now we see our two color pickers, and the last thing, we need a button to start the process. Let's create a group and align the content on the right. Let's add a button. Type submit and mint. Here it is. We have the design of our form. If we click on mint, it asks me to fill the field. Why is it asking it to me? It's because we said it's required, and here we're using the props from the form, so all the information is inside the hook, and it knows if it's empty or not, and it acts accordingly to what we defined. So it's very useful and handy to create a form in no time. It's a bit like a React hook forms. Okay, so now we are almost ready to call the contract to start minting our floor, but we need to create our functions to interact with it. Here we won't create directly in a component, but we will create a custom hook to interact with our contract. So let's create a folder named hooks. Inside, we will create an index.ts, and we will put our default configuration. We will need two things: the contract address, which can be found if you open the previous tutorial. On the left, you have a build folder and contracts, and you can open the deployed infinitytower.json, and you can scroll down to networks. By the way, there is the ABI, so you can unfold it to arrive here. And network 04 is rinkeby, if you remember, and we have the contract address, so just copy it and write it here. Then we have our ABI, which is a new interface we get from useDApp, from ethers. And inside, we will just put the array of the ABI we got from the same spot. So it's the big thing we folded, so you can keep it folded and just copy, and by magic it will work. Okay, so I think I have this. I paste it and it's good. Now we will export our contract, and this is what we will use to interact with it. The basic information it requires to be able to. So it's a new contract from ethers. We put the contract address, and the second parameter, you guess it, it's the ABI. We save it. Okay, now let's create a hook to interact with it. Let's call it createFloor index.ts and export use createFloor from createFloor. And now let's create it. createFloor.ts. We don't need component rendering, so we don't have to add the X. let's create our hook. Use create floor equals. We need to return some information. So we will get the state, and a send function we get from use contract function from useDApp. We pass it the contract we created before. So be careful while you import it that it's the one we created and not the name from ethers. And the name of the function we want to call, and we named it create floor. We will also want to give an easily readable loading state. So let's create a function we'll call loading, and we'll look at the states. So we have a status, which can be pending signature or mining. If we are on those states, we want to show the users it's loading. If it's a success, we'll need the state.status to be success. And if there is any error, we need the status to be either fail or state.status equal exception. And our hook will return all of those information. So we have loading state, success or an error, and the send function, which will be the function to call to initiate the transaction to the contract. Okay, now we can save it. And our hook is ready to be called from our model. So now here we will get our hook use. We will need the loading state, the success, the error, and the send function from our hook. So use create floor. When we submit now, we want to await and send the create floor function with values.owner name, values.message, values.link, and we will need to pass the color in hex. So we have values.color and values.windows tint. Because we used inside integer in the contract, we can't give the string. We'll create a utils folder and a file named color utils.ts. Export const str to hex color str, so our string, and we will return a number. Oops. A 0x with our string, so str.substring and 1 to remove the hash. And we'll do the reverse function as well. I don't know if we will need it yet, but let's do it. So we have the hex, which is a string we would get from, and we'll replace it, the 0x with the hash. Okay. Now here we will use str to hex color and str to hex color. Nice. So now we will add the loading state to the button. And we might as well check if there is any error. So if there are errors, we will display that there was an error. So we'll add space. And a text. Okay. And another thing we want is we'd like to add a use effect. On the success state. And if it's a success, let's close the model. Okay, perfect. So let's try if it's working or not. So owner name, Wawa Sensei, hello world. And we'll create with the basic color. I don't need a link. So now I can see it wants to mint. So it's telling me what are the gas fee. It doesn't require me to pay something in addition because our contract was very simple. Okay, I need my ledger, so I will switch my account to do it here. Okay. Okay, perfect. I will connect again. I'm well connected. And mint a new floor here. We had the error because previously I switched network during the process and I rejected. And now let's mint. I should be able to accept it. Okay. I confirm. It's minting. It can be a long process, so you might do it in a parallel process and not here. And it closed, so I can know it was a success because I don't have the error here, and it closed. Perfect. Now to see if it correctly worked, let's move on to the next step and to get the actual floors of our tower. And I forgot to say here, when we call send, we don't have the information or the type of the parameters, so it has to be in the correct order that your contract function is declared. Now we want to render our floors, so let's create a new hook and let's call it floors. Inside we'll have index. And as it's a hook, we'll call it use floors equals from floors. And let's create floor.ts. So let's create our hook. Okay, so here we will create a simple hook without a context, and we will pass it from the app to the infinity tower. But if you need the floor from different spaces, I highly recommend you to create a use context hook. So there are two ways to get the floors. The first one is to call on our contract the floors with each floor, because we have the number of floor and we can access our floor array only with a call for each floor. So we can get the first index, second, etc. But we won't do it. And because we used events during the contract, we can get all the floors easily from the logs, and it's way more efficient in our case. So the logs will be equal to useLogs from useDApp. We'll pass it the contract, the name of the event we want to get. So it's new floor. And if we need some arguments, but it's not the case, so we'll pass null. Okay, so here he doesn't know what contract is, so it's import contract. Okay. And what we will want to return are floors, not the logs. We want to work on them, to have something easy to read in our components, and the logs aren't. So what we will do is declare a floors will be equal to useMemo, because we don't want to do this process every time the component is refreshed. And we will do it when logs.value change. We will return logs.value.map. So we will iterate on each log to transform them in a way we like. So on each log, we will transform it to do this. A floor. So we need to define a type for what is a floor. Let's call it floor item. And let's define the type floor item. So type floor item equal. It's what we used previously, owner name, message, a link, a color, and a Windows tint. We might use it elsewhere, so let's export the type. And now it says it's missing the parameters. So here we have the owner name will be found in log.data.ownerName, and we'll do it for the other types as well. So we have the message, the link, the color, and the Windows tint. But it's unsigned int and we want strings, so we can use the function we prepared, which is hex to str color, and we will get the hex from it. And now we will return the floor we just created. We could return it directly, but it was just to be more visual to you. Okay, so now we have our hook already, we can use it. We will use it directly from the app to the tower. So we'll add a prop called floors and we'll pass the floors from the hook. So let's use our hook here. Const floors equal use floors here. Here it will say, I don't know what floors are because yes, we didn't declare it before. So export type infinity tower props. And now it requires a floor array, which is floor item. Good, and now we'll use them. So floors and floor item. It says it never used, but let's see if here the error disappear. Here it say it can be another type. Okay. Okay, so I need to go to my hook. Oh, there's an issue in the name floors. Okay. And here, if we don't have floor, we need to return an empty array to be sure it's a floor array, floor item array. And we can go back to the app. Okay, perfect. So now let's try to display our floors. We can use our floors and loop order them with map. Okay, here it's infinite tower props. Floors.map floor index. And we will display for each floor a grid.call of 4 column. The key will be the index. We'll display a card with shadow and a small shadow. We'll add some style to it, so the height expands, so height's 100%. And we'll put all the data, so text, the number of the floor, so it will be index, and all the information we have. Floor dot owner name, and here we have the message, the link. We might make it clickable, but it's not the point here. And the color. And to make it more fun, let's actually color it. So floor.color. Okay, so now we save. Okay, now I have, it doesn't work. What is happening exactly? Okay, I just needed to reload. Okay, so now I can see I have my floor. It's not very visual, so let's put everything inside the container. And now there is some padding here. So we can say we have Wawa Sensei hello world, and the colors are here. Now let's mint a second floor. My new subscriber, welcome to the channel. And we'll add this time a link, so youtube.com Wawa Sensei. We will use the color picker to have a different color. I won't say it's a nicer one. Okay. And let's mint this new floor. Again, it's asking me if I accept the transaction. Here I'm not using the ledger because we're on the test network, but be safe, use a ledger or any hardware wallet. Okay, now you can see the second floor appear. Here it appeared directly because if you check at the network, here. You can see it's always polling to get the new logs from the blockchain. So if anything happens, it will be refreshed directly because we created a hook that get that information live. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Now you have the fundamentals on how to interact with a smart contract using your front end. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate some support with a thumb up, and if you subscribe to the channel to be notified when the new tutorials come. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon for the last tutorial of this series. Bye bye.